Okay, so, ladies, I already told you a little bit about my intention of today's day. And part two of this intention of having this event, The Beauty Behind Melanin Science, is because I'm going to take it back to 2020 and tell you all a little story, horror times, horror film. Now, during 2020, we know we had the COVID happen, and that was a big time for me to dive in deeper to myself and learn a lot more about myself, which I'm very thankful and grateful for. And in that journey, I started doing more discovery of just the beauty behind being melanin and having my melanin skin, and the beauty behind Black women melanin science. So that was part two of this intention today. All the things that I've learned that I wanted to share with you all, but I wanted to bring a panel of doctors and experts to share even more expertise, okay? So let's clap it up for that, actually. So I think that is a beautiful reason. To bring forth intention. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics, okay? But particularly, we're going to be talking about stress factors, okay? Because that's a major thing, internal and externally. And then we're going to be talking about cellular health, gut health, hair, skin, and nails, and mental health, okay? So with that being said, I wanted to give the panel the opportunity to introduce themselves. So let's go ahead and start with Dr. Carmen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Carmen Banks. I am a cell and molecular biologist, undergrad at University of Maryland, then got my PhD at UC Davis and have been building my scientific career in early stage biotech startups. In addition to that, I run an organization called Melanin Science, where we create platforms and pathways for folks going into biotech and biopharma careers.
Awesome, beautiful.
And I'm Dr. Britney Crawford. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I stayed local, so I went to SF State and went to a doctorate program here in the city as well. I work primarily in pediatric mental health, so with kids, and then the other half of the time in perinatal mental health, so working with pregnant women or women who just gave birth, so a lot of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, but then also prenatal anxiety and depression as well. That's it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Hernandez, and I'm a master cosmetologist. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. The last 10 years of my career, I was working in the breast cancer community. I worked very closely with clients that were experiencing hair loss after chemotherapy, and a lot of them were looking for ways to restore their hair in a natural way. So my daughter and myself, we curated a hair care product that not only stimulates the hair from the root, but also to the surface. And so along with my hair care brand, I also do have a hair salon where I offer steaming services along with scalp care services to help people generate the growth from within.
Yes. Excellent. Beautiful. I'm so happy to have all these ladies here today. I know all of them personally. We worked together and we shared experiences. So we're going to get right into it. There will be time for Q&A, okay, if you have it. So, ladies, we're going to go down the line here, and the question is, through your professional lens, what is the biggest mindset shift? Everyone, phones on silent, please, and do not disturb.
I think that's the front.
Okay, so, yes. First question, through their professional lens, what is the biggest mindset shift you would encourage Black women to adhere to build and sustain their vitality and longevity?
Yeah, for me, it's really rest is resistance. As Black women, I think, especially in white-dominated spaces where we feel like we have to work 20 times harder than the person next to us. We see folks elevating faster, doing less work, working not as hard. But our power is really in resting and creating those boundaries. I've definitely struggled with that in graduate school and my professional career, where I was overworking myself to a point where I was burning out and it was detrimental to my health. And what I've realized, even being affected by some of these layoffs here in the city, is that you can work as hard as you want, but you're not going to get that time back with your family. You're not going to get that time back with your friends. And guess what? The company is still going to push on. they're going to lay you off and they're still going to find someone else to replace you. And the company I was working for ended up going under. So no matter how many weekends I worked, how many hours I pushed to make the project go forward, it was still going to go under regardless. So I think it's really important for us as Black women to understand that rest is not optional. It is crucial to our success. It's crucial to our longevity. And it's something that we need to continue to create boundaries around.
That's a great answer. Also, was my same exact answer, rest. I think that maybe later on I get into more of the mental health of like what happens when you aren't resting and the negative impact. But yes, rest. There's no need to glorify burnout, and that's usually what we do, which I think also goes into some of the other questions that will come up. So I'll just give a brief answer and confirmation to what Dr. Carmen said. You have to take a break. You have to rest. You have to switch that mindset of like, I can do it all. I'm a go-getter. I'm a superwoman. I'm a blah, blah, blah. It's not helpful to anyone. It's definitely not helpful to you, and I think that's negative examples for the youth as well, because they see that and they're like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. And no, you're not. You are supposed to take a break. You are not supposed to be able to handle everything, which is why most of us come from a minority background, and it's community-based. We are community-based people for a reason, because you're supposed to rely on your neighbor. You're supposed to rely on your auntie, your cousin, blah, blah, blah. And the system is not designed for us to do that. It goes against Black women taking a break, so it's very difficult to do, but we have to switch our mindset, find out where we can take a break, find out where we can tell people no, which is one of my favorite things to do. Tell people, no, you know what, I don't have the capacity, because I don't. Even if I do have the capacity, sometimes I just say it just because. And just to get used to it, because it's difficult to do. Sometimes you gotta be like, no, I don't think I can do that.
I love that. You know, and along with the ladies on the panel, that is accurate. Us as Black women, we're taught we're strong. We have to keep going, but we also need to normalize having a schedule for ourselves. I was thinking as I was driving into the city, the iconic bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, right? It has a series of maintenance. It's always painted, it's always repaired. It's a year-round maintained system that it has. And as women, think of how much traffic, how much input that you're taking in, how much output you're giving, how traveled you are. And so I feel like as women of color, we need to normalize making sure that we have a schedule that we stick to pour into ourselves. Perhaps it can be something as simple as taking about 15 minutes in the morning to make sure you bring yourself down to the earth. So that way, when you walk out that door, you can handle what's coming at you. And so I think when we do that, we're able to better tune in to the signs that our bodies, our hair, will start to shoot off and say, okay, something's off. So when we do this, we can work more in tune with ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful answers. And then also on a physical manifestation, when you don't rest, we can see how that physically manifests. You become sick, dis-ease, right? Dis-ease within the body, not taking too much export, not enough input. So very important too on a physical plane, just think about that. You know, you feel yourself getting sick, feel yourself getting under the weather, reflect and say, okay, where can I shift? Where can I change? Because it's coming from somewhere, and that's typically the root. Internal to external. Okay, wonderful. Excellent, ladies. Okay, so moving right along, Dr. Carmen, we're going to talk about stress now, because stress is one of those factors that are they hit us from multiple angles, right? Even if we don't try to intentionally put ourselves in that way, it can come to us. So, Dr. Carmen, can you explain the short-term and long-term effects of stress, cortisol, and how they affect our bodies at a cellular level? And can you also explain how genetic and generational stressors influence our lives today?
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard of the cortisol spikes or glucocorticoids and how those contribute to stress. And what's really important to understand is that stress at a very basic level isn't necessarily a bad thing, because when you think about evolution and you think about animals, for instance, that's what's fueling predators to chase after their prey or little rabbits to run away from those prey. And so cortisol is going to act at almost, a lot of different places in your body on a cellular level and also on a whole organ level. Some of the things that you might notice when you're stressed are increased heart rate. You might see an increase in blood pressure. But to Simone's point, glucocorticoids, or cortisol in our case, acts directly on our immune system. And so what you'll see with long-term stress is you'll have elevated cortisol levels, which is constantly suppressing your immune system. And that makes you susceptible to getting sick. It can make you susceptible to different types of diseases. And it's also shunting energy away from other parts of your bodily functions, like hair growth. It could be skin rejuvenation, energy. And so all of that glucose, which is what our cells use as energy, is being shunted into that fight or flight mode. And so the critical functions to really get you through the day. And so when you're in this constant state of stress, you're not keeping your body in homeostasis. You're really shunting all of your energy that could be going towards other functions into just surviving. And so what we have seen and what research has shown, especially for Black women who have been constantly exposed to chronic levels of stress, is this new area called epigenetics. And that is environmental influences that can actually affect us on the cellular genetic level. There are some cases where we're seeing that is heritable, meaning that we can pass on those things to our offspring. But what it's doing at a holistic level is changing the way our body can function and respond. So if you have constant levels of stress, and I like to use, let's say the mammary gland for an example. You have specific genes in your breast that control when you're lactating and when you're not. And those genes are affected by hormonal things, or hormones rather, and different environmental factors. But when you're exposed to a lot of stress, that stress can actually act on the way that those genes turn on and off. So you'll see a lot of women might, have problems with milk supply and things of that nature when they're stressed. And so those epigenetic factors or those external stressors can affect the way your body is functioning. And so all of that external stress, that prolonged stress, is really going to affect you long term. You might see different types of diseases pop up, depression, anxiety, which I think Dr. Britney can talk to in more detail, but you're not going to function optimally from a cellular level. And what we see more than likely is that at a cellular level, you then will see changes in what we call phenotype, or the ways that you are physically showing those functions.
Wonderful. Thank you, girl. That was in depth. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Crawford, can you explain how cortisol affects the psychological health of us specifically as Black and melanated and colored women? Additionally, what are 2 to 3 mental habits that women in their 30s and 40s should prioritize?
Great question.
Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback off of what Dr. Carmen said, because she already really did a great job of setting the foundation, where cortisol is a hormone. It's our stress hormone. It's our primary stress hormone. And it's meant for short-term survival. It's not meant for long-term. So when you're consistently stressed with high cortisol, it's a chronic issue. And any chronic issue is going to lead to increased mental health. So that would look like increased anxiety, depression, and especially if you already have a pre-existing mental health condition that just worsens the symptoms. You're going to have difficulty sleeping, so not having a set sleep schedule also worsens mental health. So it's just everything's compounding, worsening your mental health. You're going to have difficulty concentrating, and then also I think you mentioned increased disease, physical symptoms, inflammation, all of that, which would also lead to increased mental health. And that looks like specifically the mental health part is increased worry, increased stress. Your baseline is, if this is the baseline of someone, like a typical person who doesn't have increased cortisol, your baseline's already up here. You look like what they look like when they're super stressed. So everything is going to feel worse. It's going to feel more scary. It's going to feel like the end of the world, right? You're going to catastrophize and be like, oh my God, this worst situation's about to happen, instead of looking at it from a calm, realistic point of view. And sometimes that looks like having, it goes into thoughts of self sometimes. So it may be like, why am I always behind? Why is everything bad always happening to me? Are these things my fault? I constantly feel overwhelmed. Why can't anything go right? Why are people always upset with me? Why are people always, I don't know, because maybe some people are a little on edge around you if you're consistently stressed out, right? So why are people always irritated by me? All of these negative things. And then the depressive parts, which are low mood, negative thinking, suicidal ideations, low energy overall, and sometimes those negative thoughts would be like, I'm not good enough. Why do I keep messing up? What's wrong with me? We'll do some other good ones that come up often. Why is it always like this? Like feeling like hopeless. Like this is how it always is. This is how it's always going to be. I'm never going to get out of it. And then that also leads to the suicidal ideations, which I feel like we should always talk about as Black women, because I think there was this thing where it said like, oh, Black women don't get suicidal. That's a lie. It's a big lie. I think it looks different, and we don't often have the space to talk about it because it's not the most fun conversation, and then it goes into that stereotype that we have of being the strong Black woman. Strong Black women don't get to be depressed. You know, that reminds me of the movie and book for colored girls. Love it. I think we should all read that. But yeah, and which, again, worsens the mental health. And the second part of your question was 2 or 3, what?
Yes, 2 or 3 mental health habits that women in our 30s and 40s should prioritize.
I think you mentioned one, which is like taking a break. Overall, I think that's really helpful, especially in the beginning of your day, like a 5 to 10 minute quiet break before your day starts, so that you kind of it could be mindfulness or meditation if you'd like to, or it could just be you sitting in silence. So you can kind of re-regulate yourself before the chaotic day, where things out of your control are probably going to happen. People are going to stress you out. They're going to piss you off. They're going to be annoying. Something's going to go wrong. But you want to have that space to sit, to rest before going into the chaotic day. I think also one of the most important parts is letting it out. And that looks different for everyone, but I'm always one for writing things down, where you sit in the feelings, you write out what feelings are coming up and why they're coming up. It doesn't even have to be therapy, but I always will encourage therapy because, of course, it could be talking to like your best friend about it. It could be talking to your mom, whoever you trust. It doesn't have to be therapy, but you have to let it out. It can't sit in there. You all probably heard about the thing where it's like you pour into the cup and then the cup overflows, whatever that visualization is. You have to pour it out somewhere. It could be through art, it could be through dance, it could be through movement, like exercise.
Yes, expression.
Exactly. And what's another one? Oh, consistency. I think you also said something along those lines of consistency as well, like being consistent with whatever you do. At least going back to the mindfulness or even breathing technique, it's like a muscle. And if you're consistent with it, it gets easier over time. It doesn't make the stress go away. Nothing's going to make your stress go away. We live in a stressful world. But you get better at managing it when it happens. It's like your bandwidth is higher if you continue to practice those stress management techniques.
Absolutely. And to add on to that, eating well and movement.
Yes. Drink your water.
Have that. Yes, drink your water, eat your water, specifically as Black women, because we know that, it may not be us, but we know that we can hold more body mass, right? And just sometimes just the way that we're built, So we have to make sure that we're combating all of that with feeding our cellular, feeding our gut, our microbiome with what it needs, which is, positive foods, healthy foods, fiber, healthy carbs, ample protein, and movement, we just had our gratitude meditation. We have 2 feet. We need to use them. We have to work out, y'all. We do. For our mental health, for our confidence, our sexiness, like, yes, we want to feel good. And when you move your body, you're moving that chi within the body, you're getting everything work. So then we know how to stay consistent. We know how to be self-aware, right? We have that consciousness. But yes,
I'm gonna add
food.
one more too, now that you said that. I forgot, positive affirmations are a real thing. We have so much power in our voice. When I said like the negative thoughts that come up, they are going all day, every day, right? We're like, oh my gosh, what is this bad thing? What have I done? What do these people think about me? You have to be intentional about your positive words as well. You have to force them. You have to be consistent with those as well. So I would say like during that quiet time, or maybe after the quiet time, having one or two of those things, like I got this today. Anything that comes my way, I know I can handle it. I'm not gonna let anybody push me to the edge today. They don't have that kind of power over me. Something like that along those, but now I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, love it. And stress plays a major factor on our hair. And I just started learning this. So we were talking about hormones, and those who were at my hormonal event in November, we were talking about how hormones affect our hair a little bit. So we're going to dive in deeper to that in addition to hair, skin, and nails. So Sonia, how does stress levels affect the vitality of our hair, skin, and nails? And which ingredients, nutritional habits, lifestyle changes do you recommend to counteract its effects?
I love this question, excuse me, because typically when the client sits in my chair, I typically receive them when the cortisol levels are shot, when they're negative in their mind space. And so when the client sits in my chair and I observe that there's a high elevated level of stress, I may see breakage on one side. I may see balding and thinning. The hair is drier. The hair will not want to respond to any type of like styling or holding a curl. For example, I had a client that sat in my chair and she had a very tragic event happen to her about 1.5 years ago. And she wanted to get a style, but her hair was not in the condition. It had not been maintained because of the stress. It was not strong because of the erosion of the cortisol taking everything from her body. So therefore, her hair was not able to do what she wanted to do with it. So as a stylist, I had to help navigate her to let's attack the issue, which is your scalp. We need to stimulate that blood flow back there because right now you're not able to support that type of style. So being honest with the client when I know that the hair does not have the integrity to do what it's supposed to do. And then also too, I've noticed like with skin, a client that I also know, she started having more issues with like cysts, also as well, eczema flare-ups. That is very highly connected to stress and inflammation in the body. So if you're noticing drier skin, if your skin looks like it's cracked on your legs, that is a signal that there is something that's imbalanced internally on the inside. And as a stylist, I can't fix that part. I can do things on the outside to really help nurture a better base, but we have to go inside. Also, when it comes to the nails, your nails may appear more soft and peeling, ridges. You would see like cracked, your cuticles would be cracked. Your nails don't seem to grow. They're just really stagnant. And so for me, of course, everything goes back to the diet. Your beauty is deeply connected from the inner side, right? So if you're in a negative space, your output's gonna be negative. And so starting within, as far as with your diet, feeding your mind positive thoughts, like we talked about in the morning, having a space to start off slow, but nutritionally, making sure you're getting adequate minerals and vitamins, vitamin K. Your hair is composed of keratin, AKA protein, to where you need to make sure you're eating a good source of protein that your body can actually work with and redistribute. Protein is very crucial also too for your nails to stay strong. So just really starting with a diet that is strong in leafy greens, making sure, like you talked about, drinking and eating your water. That's vital. That's crucial. So that way you can give your body the source that it needs. So when you do regulate those cortisol levels, what's left over can go to those outsources, which are your nails, your skin, and your hair. And a lot of times when those things are not the output of it is in a slightly damaged position, that's kind of telling you that there is something going on internally with your stress, your diet that you need to correct. So that's where I say I would start.
Yes. You know, one thing about us, we do not want to be dry.
Right.
Can I add something to that, Simone? And one other thing that I would add is that from a more scientific standpoint, each of us are very different. We have different genetic makeups. We respond to products differently. And so really understanding not only what you're putting in your body from consumption standpoint, but some of the products that are on the market, because a lot of them are geared towards white women. And our hair does not respond to the same way that people that don't look like us or have the same hair texture as us responds to. And sometimes those things can actually add to the inflammation. There are ingredients in there that can irritate your scalp, that irritate your skin. From a food standpoint, again, having a lot of protein, because that protein is contributing to collagen production, it's contributing to keratin production, and that cortisol is literally acting directly on those pathways to decrease the synthesis of that. So the more you're stressed, the less you're going to see the hair growth, the less you're going to see the nail growth. But really having a deeper understanding about what we're putting on our skin, what we're putting in our hair, and how that affects, you and your body makeup, because the products that I use in my hair might not be the same as Simone's or other people in this room. And it's just because my body responds to certain products and certain ingredients differently.
And if I could elaborate on the
Please.
ingredient part,
Yeah,
that is
let's go
so
there.
important, because I remember when I was in the formulation stage of my brand, a lot of the main manufacturers, the ingredients that they used were catered towards white women. They had a lot of silicones, a lot of sulfates, a lot of phthalates. Those things are plasticizers, and they can disrupt a lot of things in your body. And so one of the things that I find that our bodies are more biocompatible with, I really love the effect that aloe vera has on our scalp and on our skin. I love the effect that sunflower seed oil, as well as like avocado fats, the richness of the minerals in that, what it supplies for your hair and scalp. So definitely get used to reading the ingredient label. It's very vital. It's not like, we're just saying, oh, check your ingredient list to scare you, but really we have to start becoming the formulators of our own products, because they're not making anything for us. So yeah, so start there. You're worth it.
Definitely. And then also, some of those products can really affect your hormones. Yeah, definitely, which of course can even manifest into womb problems, like the different things that we put on our skin, because they absorb into our skin and then they get into our bloodstream, and then it's just all messed up.
Relaxers being the number one example of that. Yeah.
Me working in the salon for years around chemical relaxers, I developed skin issues and allergies. And so, working around that environment, not only am I affected, my clients were affected. So it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, beautiful. Any questions, comments, concerns thus far? We're all good? Okay, excellent. Okay, so moving on. Now, we talked a little bit about this earlier, and I really, I'm one of those people that loathe the strong black woman, especially when it comes to men, no, that is not, no, I'm soft, I'm a flower, treat me accordingly. So, Dr. Crawford, how does the internal-external narrative of strong black woman affect black women's mental health specifically, and what are the psychological consequences of regularly suppressing that vulnerability, right, of not having to just do?
Yes. So she gave me the question before. I had so many thoughts just immediately. And when I hear the strong black woman trope, it reminds me of a really bad script that somebody would give you on Love and Hip Hop. You just have the worst storyline ever. They don't want you to do well, because you couldn't possibly want someone to do well with that script. That being your storyline is crazy. So I would say that the negative effects that it has is that, again, it leads to increased anxiety, increased depression. The The physical symptoms as well would lead to increased health issues. But I want to be very specific here. I think that one of the things that can be helpful here when it comes to that trope is remembering where it came from and remembering who benefits from it. Who benefits from you doing all the work? Like a lazy man, a slave-driven work environment, literally everyone in your because no one's going to put in effort if you're doing all the work. No one in a relationship, for example, no one's going to put in effort, intimacy, care, love, whatever, if you're doing it all for yourself. Like if you're doing it all, you're like, oh, well, I'll clean the kitchen even though I also made the food. I'll fill out your job application for you because for whatever reason you can't fill out your own job application. I'll take care of the kids. I'll drive your mama to work and my mom to work. And okay. Well, how is he going to show you, or whoever you're dating, going to show you they love you if you're doing all the work? Why are you doing all the work? Nobody benefits from you doing all the work. And like I mentioned before, it's also not good for your kids to see that because they grow up thinking they have to do all the work. And no, you don't. We already talked about,
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Why inherently do we choose to do all the work? What is that?
There's a few different things. It's, again, the script. You were born with a terrible love and hip hop script. You were born with that being your storyline because that's been the narrative for quite some time. We have a few different narratives as Black women, but that's one of them. You have to be a strong Black woman. So you grow up thinking, okay, well, I have to do everything because that's the role I was given. I was told I have to do everything. And if I don't do everything, then I've somehow failed. I'm not good enough. I don't know. I'm not doing things right. And you feel guilty and all that good jazz. And so what we have to do is identify when we are living in that terrible script. Then you get to figure out, well, what do you want your role to be? You get to write your own script now in this storyline. You get to figure out who you want to be. Like, what do you value? You get to reevaluate your values and decide what's important, the type of person you want to be. And going back to the question of like, okay, well, who's benefiting from this? When you like, if you have the thought of, if I don't do this, then they'll be upset with me. Who's the they? Who is the they in question? Who are you doing this thing for? And is this a person who could do it for themselves? And do you have to do it today? Does it all have to be done today? All of these things. And then going back to the guilt, I think what's helpful is, again, sitting in it and trying to figure out, why am I feeling guilty for not doing this? Who said I have to do it? And what if I don't do it? Can I delegate? Again, community. Can somebody else do this thing? Because it's not helpful for me to do everything all the time, all at once. It doesn't serve you in the long run. It doesn't serve you in the short run. And again, people who benefit are the lazy person that in your home or your job, because you're worried, oh, they're not going to see that I'm a great Black employee. They're going to think that I'm lazy. Who benefits from that? They do. Maybe they do think you're lazy. Who knows? They think you lazy doing all the work. They're going to think you lazy regardless. So why are you doing all of this? And now you're tired and stressed. Then you get home, you got an attitude, and then you yelling at the kids, and there's somebody in your house, you yelling at them, and a whole system. We gotta change the script.
Which is why we need to exhale. Let's all take a breath.
I told you I had feelings and thoughts when you wrote that. That I so many feelings
it's a
about
problem,
that.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah. Because it's long term.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
is.
compounding. It's compounding.
And it shapes our community.
Yeah.
Because why are we doing all the stuff? Why are we?
Yes. I think a good tool, when like we're in that situation, is just talk to yourself. Like, do I? Am I? No. And then, boom. But you have to have that conversation with yourself, like literally. Because if you don't, no one will have that conversation with you. Like I said, they'll just let you just keep on keeping on.
A phrase I liked too, that there's a lady online named Dr. Martin. She's also a clinical psychologist. I love her content. And she makes content specifically for Black women as well. And she said, when you're trying to figure out like whether or not you should do something as it relates to praise, like am I going to be praised for being the strong Black woman? You ask, is the praise related to my humanity, or is it related to my suffering? Are you praising me because I'm suffering more, Or are you praising me because I'm genuinely doing things as a human? And I really like that. That's the questioning yourself piece of like, wait, who is benefiting from this? Who am I doing this for? And why am I doing this?
Yes, love it. Okay, Sonia, we're back to you. Okay, so for women who have been operating in this survival and stress mode for years or months, whatever the case may be, what strategies can they proactively use to restore and maintain long-term health of their hair, skin, and nails?
I love this question because it requires us to create that routine for ourselves. There are 4 phases that your hair grows in. It's the anagen phase, the catagen phase, the telogen phase, and the exogen phase. And once you understand how each of those phases operate, you can then tap into your superpower of your growth or what your hair is doing. So for my clients, I always recommend to them, you got what on your calendar? You got a dentist appointment. You got to take your kid to soccer. Where's your time for your hair mask? So romanticize taking care of your hair, nurturing your skin. Get you some BL Estates rosé. Get you curate a playlist that's a positive songs that you can actually pour into yourselves while you're putting your hair mask on, sing along with it, or if it's journaling, or if it's in that moment where you're actually listening to a podcast that fuels you. Romanticize that time, and it does not have to be an hour, 2 hours long. Start small. If your thing is not a hair mask, if it's a scalp massage, work that in your schedule. I mean, are you not important enough, right? Can you work 5 minutes into your schedule? We do our face wash. So what about at night before bed, before we put on our scarf? Can you give yourself a scalp massage with some mango papaya oil that smells all good and stuff? Like, take that time for yourself. Romanticize the moment. Because if we don't, what happens, time goes by and then we're looking, if the Golden Gate Bridge was not maintained and completely painted every single time on schedule, would it be well known? Would it be iconic? It would not be. So your beauty is much more beautiful than that. So taking care of yourself is the biggest form of self-love, because when you do that, you're going to set the basis and the foundation for how others view and treat you. So put yourself on that schedule. I created like a 28-day hair growth guide for my clients just to have in their back pocket. I'm like, girl, there's like 28, 30 days. Pick one of those things that you can do in the month and put yourself in. Set a little alarm and just take care of yourself. And don't feel guilty. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. And speaking about those different hair growth phases, for example, there is a phase where your hair goes through a shedding process. It's called the exogen phase. It's very similar to the season of like the winter where everything is kind of dying off. This is natural, believe it or not, because think about your skin. You shed skin, right? You got to exfoliate. Your hair also lets go of what no longer serves it. So in that moment of your hair shedding the excess, then that's a good time to go ahead and do like a hair mask to strengthen what's coming. Just making sure that you understand the curve of what's going on with your hair and your skin. I think it can give you your power back, and I think the most important thing is it will give you that mindset shift that you do matter and that you do have a maintenance schedule.
And the crown's so important for us in so many ways. Like I said, we need to have our hair done.
And it's our expression. It's part of who we are. People are always like, oh, you changed your hair again. Yes, I did. Yeah. That is our power. Yeah. Own that power. Take care of that power. Set that power on a shelf. Put it on a schedule and just nurture yourself, because we deserve that. I mean, so many images of beauty of brown and black women do not look like us. We got to show them what beauty really looks like when we're in the walking flesh, not in a picture. So put yourself on that schedule.
What would be the most important tool or ingredient, and maybe you already said the aloe vera, that you would incorporate into your wash routine or hair care routine? And should it be weekly? Should it be bi-monthly? What's typically the schedule?
I prefer weekly. I think our hair and our scalp, we're constantly shedding, cells, dead skin on our scalp. You wait 2 weeks, you're kind of like suffocating it. So it's a good idea to double shampoo. The best ingredient that I found when it comes to nurturing hair, I really love black castor and I really love aloe vera. Aloe is such a hydrator. It also is going to heal any type of pH imbalance that the scalp is having. It's a natural pH stabilizer. So I think aloe, incorporating that into your hair regimen. And one of my favorite tips or secrets for women is double shampoo, double cleanse. Just like you put your clothes in that washing machine, how many cycles is that? Your hair is worth 2 cycles. So that first layer of, if you have a low functioning shampoo, you're only going to remove about 80% of the dirt and the buildup that's clogging the follicles on your scalp. That last remainder percentage, if you're using a high functioning product such as with aloe vera or just something that your scalp is biocompatible with, it would actually draw out those impurities and open up your scalp to be able to receive growth. So that, I would say, just aloe, having that as part of your regimen, having something that's ultra nourishing for the scalp afterwards, but definitely shampooing once a week. That's my tip.
Okay, beautiful. Excellent. Now, we dabbled a little bit into the nighttime routine, which leads me to my question for you, Dr. Carmen. Now, I'm a strong believer, especially as a fitness professional, that your body needs rest, which we spoke about. Sleep is when the body recovers, is when the body heals, is when all this magic happens. So on a cellular level, could you explain the importance of sleeping, napping?
Yeah.
And why we really truly do need it to bring all of this full circle. Our mental health, our hair, skin, and nails, our gut health, just on an internal, deeper level.
Yeah, so if you think about all of the things that you do every single day and the amount of stress that you're putting your body through, just to even, let's say, walk down the street or walk up the stairs to this event, it takes a toll. And so when you are sleeping, that gives your body a chance to reset your hormones to kind of go back to what we call a state of homeostasis. And for the fitness girlies, which I am, like you, Simone, you probably hear a lot that a lot of your muscle growth happens when you're resting. So you need that recovery period for your cells to do their thing so that the energy that you're spending doing other things, that might be eating, it might be working, tending to your kids, is now redirected to making sure that your body is back in homeostasis. And so when you're operating on limited amounts of sleep, you might see things like brain fog. You might, of course, see fatigue, and it's because your body just hasn't had enough time to rejuvenate those systems, to rejuvenate the cells, to get back to a state of homeostasis.
So I would like for each of you all to share one fun fact about us as a people, our beauty, our skill, energetic signatures, whatever the case may be. And I would like to begin. So during COVID, I think it's just so interesting. I learned that, and pardon, because I'm not familiar with which type of melanin, but they coat the spaceships with a certain type of melanin in order for it to break the barrier to get to wherever it needs to be. If you believe in, I don't want to get into conspiracies because we'll be here all day. But I thought that the fact that I found that, and this is like a Harvard study that you can Google, was just so powerful. Granted, it may be a different type of melanin, but we share the melanin experience. Mm-hmm. And they use that to get into wherever they need to go in the universe and the atmosphere. And I just thought there was just so much power within that, and knowing that I share that essence. Yeah, so that's right. You can Google this, y'all. You can Google it. Okay, it's Googleable.
I think to add on to Simone's point, I think a lot of times we think of some of the pathologies and negative things that are associated with being Black, but our biological makeup actually has a lot of power, and we contain a lot of different genes that other people of other races do not have, which is why we see us as the superior folks in the Olympics and a lot of sports. And so I just love to highlight that us as Black folks, in general, we are low-key like a superior race. I'm like, genetically, we have a lot of power, and it's just about harnessing that power and celebrating the beauty of it.
My fun fact was that although the trope of strong Black woman is terrible and we hate it and we're going to get rid of it, we actually are strong. So that's
yeah.
Very resilient.
Very resilient.
Very
It was
resilient.
just, the history of this country. not being allowed to get married or whatever, have weddings, figuring out how to jump a broom, and not being given the scraps of food, turn it into fried chicken. Like we are so innovative, not being able to read and write, but still having a history of oral tradition where we told stories to our kids that we know today. There's a lot of Black fairy tales. I'm really into like Black fairy tales, Black American ones. But yeah, that in itself is a sign of strength and resiliency. And I feel like that we are strong Black women. Yes.
I love that too. I was actually just sitting here in the moment, like just taking it all in, and I wanted to really express what I see in us. We have a gift, and it's the warmth. You know, like you're chiming in and you're sharing, and we have this community that other cultures even recognize, and people are drawn to us. We could be in a room and it could be a lonely person, and they come to us because we have that natural ability. You always somebody's baby. You know, there's warmth, there's a sense of community. And so it's like the sun, people are attracted to it. That's one thing so we need to harness that gift that we have. And within our communities, we need to start being the scientists, the chemists, and the builders. And we have to do it together. That's it.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, thank you, ladies. Additional questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Yes, indeed.